All right. Welcome, everybody, to our NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver review, both nights 1 and 2, courtesy of us, the Wrestling Hypothesis crew, here for your Friday, April 9th, 2021. How's everyone doing today? Hope you're all enjoying the morning. I am the ABA, of course, and I also have with me, joining me with this on this review, the Professor, Richard. What's going on, man? How's everything?
Time to teach the children about wrestling and its worthy and its glory. So
yes, sir. For any youngsters that are not real, that are brand new to the whole wrestling thing, let's teach them what we got. Let's show them what we're capable of.
Yep.
So let's do that. So this may be the only extra content we'll be putting out on the YouTube channel proper, as we decided that our predictions for the entirety of WrestleMania this year will be on the podcast this Saturday. That'll be episode 61 of Wrestling Hypothesis before night 1 of Mania gets underway. The goal is to get it out for you guys tomorrow instead of Sunday. And we also plan to post this very review out to the feed for better convenience for those listening. So before we get into it, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below if you are watching us via YouTube on the YouTube channel, so you don't miss out on extra content in general whenever we decide to drop. And if you haven't done so already, you can check out our latest episode 60 from this past week, where we discussed me and Lawrence at least, because we were the only two that were a part of that particular show this weekend, our top 10 greatest female superstars in WWE history. That was definitely one discussion that was pretty interesting. And I'm glad that we got into that. So shout out to Lawrence for that, helping me out there. And so go ahead and check that out if you haven't done so already, or any of our older episodes over in the archives using any of the platforms we are available on. I don't need to go into that again. As well as visiting our own website, anchor.fm/wrestling-hypothesis. With that out of the way, let's get into it, man. NXT Takeover, Stand and Deliver, just concluded night 2 last night. Overall, was a pretty great 2 nights of pro wrestling. Not only was the in-ring action at a relatively high standard, at least it was kept at a relatively high standard across both nights, but a lot of compelling stories were told in those matches and what is set for them coming out of the show, as NXT makes its way onto Tuesday nights, away from going head-to-head with AEW Dynamite, at least for the time being. Which, by the way, is a great move for both promotions, as this whole time they prevented the other show from really hitting its potential in viewership numbers on any given week, because they were both on at the same time, and it was hard to go for wrestling fans to go back and forth and stay focused on one show over the other. But on this show itself, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I enjoyed night 1 a good amount, more than I did night 2. Even though stronger card was for night 2, let me just get this out of the way, Rich. Even though there was a stronger card for heading into night 2, like you were saying, Rich, last night when we were watching night 2, it just dragged at certain points in a lot of the matches. And night 1, I felt, had a much better flow to it, and nothing, I would say, really overstayed their welcome in the matches and the segments that we got off of night 1 compared to night 2.
I do, like we talked about yesterday. Night 2 literally had the stronger card. But for night 1, the energy was there. The fact that for the first time in a very long time, we saw legitimate fans being there. That's another reason. It flowed throughout the entire show, despite it was on the USA Network, right? And
yeah, you had those bit of instances where they would just cut away in like the middle of matches for like a good few seconds, as to like keep up with the whole commercial breaks that they were doing since they were airing on USA Network.
Exactly. For night 2, it flowed better. It was fluid. It flowed better. The energy was there. But the minute that night 2 came on, us as fans were expecting, like, okay, bet. So we got the stronger card. Night 2 is gonna be great and whatever. But the minute that night 2 came about, I'm like, yo, why is the crowd so dead? And that never happens on a takeover. And I've been
you would think that it was all worn out because it was all on one night. You would think that, but it's not. It's 2 separate nights, but it's probably the same crowd.
I'm saying, like, yo, why is the crowd so dead? I'm like, this is not WrestleMania. I'm like,
listen, let's just be, and I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, man, but let me just get this in there. Let's just be happy with but the fact that we got a legitimate crowd again.
Oh, of course.
Can we say that?
That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing that was positive about this. We had a number of fans, like a good amount of fans back. The presentation for Takeover was amazing with that big ass skull with the NXT logo on top. That gave me Survivor Series. Here's a history lesson. Survivor Series 1998, November 25th, 1998, the Deadly Game tournament when The Rock won the WWE title for the very first time. That Deadly Game tournament and the Deadly Game logo on top, and the NXT brought it back with the swords, stand and deliver insignia on top. I'm like, yo, that presentation.
You gotta love when WWE pays homage to their older, more historic events.
Yeah, and like it's those little things that matter that makes a takeover or a WrestleMania or any pay-per-view that they have mean something. So it's like kudos to Triple H and the crew of doing all of that.
Right.
So that's beside.
Yeah.
And then we had not one but two musical performances. My girl Nita Strauss did the rock version of the national anthem.
That was something to behold. Yeah.
Yup. And then I'm wearing Poppy, of course, because she performed yesterday. She performed, if no one knows about this, a cover from Andy Ant of Stand and Deliver all the way back that goes from 1987. And then she performed one of her new songs called Say Cheese. That will be in her upcoming album. So that was good too. But in terms of night one, let's discuss night one. For night one, obviously we had 5 matches for night one, and obviously 5 matches for night two. Night one, out of all the matches, I have one match that could potentially, that actually, it was match of the night for both nights, for both of them. And that one match from night one, to me, was match of the night for both, was Walter and Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT UK Championship. That match delivered. It was only 16 minutes. The match was only 16 minutes, and they delivered a fantastic match. The cardio that Tommaso does was fucking crazy. Tell me how I counted how many lariats he did to Walter. He did 15 without stopping.
Yeah, I lost track after 10 in that one particular spot they did. With Ciampa just running back and forth the ropes onto Walter, trying to get him over the top rope, man.
Yep. I'm like, yo. Like, and plus, if no one watched it, and Abba, I told you this yesterday, the next day, which was yesterday, he defended the NXT UK Championship against Rampage Brown at NXT UK Prelude.
Mm-hmm.
I always say this. I said it to you. I said it to Ricardo, Kenny, Tara, Lawrence, everybody. Do not sleep on NXT UK at all. People might not watch it. People might not pay attention to it. Whatever. That's you. NXT UK in-ring style is so amazing. It's just that you have to watch. When he defended the title against Rampage Brown, for the first time out of all the defenses that Walter has had, this is the first time that Walter was given the business by his opponent. Literally.
Okay. Right.
Rampage Brown is a powerhouse, same as Walter. This dude gave him the business. He gave him chop after chop, and it did not even faze him.
Right. I don't want to cut you off again, man, because I feel like I've been doing so much of that lately, but we kind of have to get into it with this show proper, because I don't think a whole lot of the listeners listening to us on a review right now really tuned in to see that. But hey, let them know. That they missed out on something.
Watch NXT UK Prelude, and you'll see why NXT UK should never, and I mean ever, be slept on. But go ahead.
Right. Okay. Let's get into it with night one, man. We're probably going to run through this a little quicker than we will night two because night one, we kind of had like a few nights to sleep on it and it kind of just came and went. Not to disrespect it though, but that's just the way it goes. Show started off with Pete Dunne and Kushida in a straight up exhibition match with not much in the way of stakes other than just some needed momentum, which is needed, like I said, considering both of these guys have come off on the losing sides of the respective title matches at the previous TakeOver show in February. Both needed a good win for themselves, but alas, that only can occur to one person in this match. And it went to the bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and we got a great technical match out of it. Pretty straightforward stuff, 10 minutes. And it was a great way to open night one of TakeOver, as it did set the tone for the kind of action that we got the rest of the show. And so that was that. Dunne beat Kushida there, then and there.
Yeah, the match was great. The match was great and stuff like that. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna be brutally honest. Even though the match was great, I didn't care because I didn't care because
right, there was not much in the way of stakes, like I was saying.
They just put a match there, and then that's it. No story, no build, no nothing. I'm like, is anyone gonna care about this match after when the match was done? No. It's just that yeah, I just don't care. Like I don't know what else to say. I just don't care about. I didn't care about this match. I'm surprised it was on the TakeOver card to begin with.
Yeah.
But other than that, like it was a great match. Pete Dunne was the victor. Kushida, I have no idea what the hell he's gonna do after this. This goes the same way for Pete Dunne after he had a fantastic run towards the main event picture towards TakeOver Wednesday back in February. And now he faced Kushida, which I'm not mad at that, but it's like, okay, what's next?
Right. We'll have to wait and see on that. What NXT has up their sleeve with both these guys. We had the Gauntlet Eliminator match where the winner would face Johnny Gargano for the North American title on night 2 of TakeOver. It was Leon Ruff, Bronson Reed, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Cameron Grimes, Dexter Lumis, and and LA Knight. This was all action from start to finish. Everyone involved did play their role to a good T. Leon Ruff and Isaiah Scott started off here. They've had beef themselves leading up to this event, and they went at it before the next entrant in the match, Bronson Reed, was up. And I honestly wasn't a fan. Maybe this is just me, but I wasn't a fan of the fact that they had time intervals in between the entrants instead of it being a case where two guys fight it out and the next person doesn't come out until someone's been eliminated. And that's just my thing, though. I've always preferred that kind of that style of a gauntlet match. Cameron Grimes was out next for the match. Fake dollar bills everywhere. That's his new gimmick now. Leon Ruff was the first to be out by Scott, and we get Dexter Lumis out next, and he fends off everyone, and LA Knight comes out last with a mic and puts himself over and gets ambushed by Reed. Lumis had Grimes in his triangle choke finish at one point when Knight covered Lumis in a jackknife and eliminates Dexter Lumis. Knight was all proud of himself for doing that, but was distracted when Scott, Grimes, and Reed all attacked Knight and eliminated him from the match. It was down to Swerve and Bronson Reed. 6 spot on the apron when Swerve slammed Reed down on the apron from the top rope and via scoop slam, hits a 450 splash for a near fall. Reed does come back with momentum, hits a powerbomb right into the alley-oop, and proceeds to go up top and nails the tsunami, I believe it's called, onto Scott for the win. And Bronson Reed will be facing Johnny Gargano on night 2 of TakeOver for the North American title. What's up?
I'm not going to lie. I was not expecting Bronson Reed to win. My number one person to win was Dexter Lumis because of what was going on NXT TV.
Right. Dexter Lumis did seem the obvious pick because it seemed like they were going down that road. But Bronson Reed was, he would have been my second choice to win.
But at the same time, I was not mad that Bronson Reed won. I was not mad at all.
No reason to be mad.
There was no reason to be mad at all because I'm like, yeah, this guy is still young. He had 2 for 2 great matches once we get into night 2. With Bronson Reed, like right now, I'm talking about WWE as a whole. In terms of the big dudes, Bronson Reed is not only he's the one to watch. Right now, Bronson Reed is WWE's best big man because of how the way this dude is. Like, he's big, he can move. The way that he moves in the ring, like his splash is perfect for a big dude. It's perfect. And he delivered in this match. And once we get into night 2, I'll say my piece then. But let's move on.
Yeah, but this was a good match that flowed really well. Even though, I mean, it was close to 25 minutes, I believe it was last I checked. But honestly, it was a good use of the time span it lasted. It wasn't a case of where it overstayed its welcome. So kudos to them. Then we had what I thought, and I shared the sentiment with you, Richard, the match of the 2 nights of Takeover Stand and Deliver, Tommaso Ciampa and Walter for the NXT UK Championship. Right after that, may not have had the most complex storyline in the build-up, but it was one of those cases where it wasn't necessary at all. These were 2 guys who we haven't been seeing doing anything of significance on NXT the past few months. Go in there and beat the whole holy loving shit out of each other for our entertainment. And we got that in spades. Ciampa came out with a clean shaven dome, which was great to see considering it's an iconic look for him at this point. And he's been letting himself look much older than he really is by letting his hair grow at his head. You see, we're talking about this stuff, but hey, it drive me nuts when Ciampa was letting his hair grow. Walter came out and they had their match. If I say anything about this match, believe me, and I know Richard agrees with me on this, it won't do it justice. A constant exchange of strikes, slaps, chops, punches, stomps, you name it, it was all here. Enjoyed every second of it. I love what we got with this match. Ciampa had this spot where he ran the ropes and clotheslined Walter by the ropes about 15 times back and forth with it, like you were getting done saying earlier, before Walter eventually chopped him to oblivion, to which Ciampa fired up from it and took him down finally with the air raid crash. Manages to hit the fairy tale ending to Walter for a close near fall. Ciampa even gets in another air raid crash from the middle turnbuckle for another kick out, I should say. Walter stomps on Ciampa's throat before hitting 2 power bombs back to back, and Ciampa kicked out of both, surprisingly. Walter then had enough of it, throws Ciampa with the sleeper slam before one more big chop sends Ciampa down, and Walter covers him for the 1-2-3. Walter wins and retains his UK championship.
This is one of the reasons why I love the NXT UK championship. Because it's not only about the fact that Walter's holding it. That's not about that.
Although that's a big reason, being honest.
Which is a big reason.
No, we're not watching any pro wrestlers that can give us a match like Walter can.
No.
With what he has to offer.
It's not about that. It's not even about Walter. It's not about even when Pete Dunne held it or when Tyler Bate held it. But let me ask you a question. Has every time when the NXT United Kingdom Championship has ever been defended, was there ever a bad match? Yes or no?
From what I've seen, I can't say I've seen any bad matches.
This is the reason, because of the champions that held it, even though it's only been 3, the matches always deliver. 100%. I've been watching NXT UK since day one. Even during even when they came back post pandemic and everything like that, I still watch. Not one bad match. And this is why I always say do not sleep on the UK at all. Walter brings out the best in his opponents. From Ciampa, from what we saw in night 1, Rampage Brown, what we saw yesterday, from Ilya Dragunov back in October. Remember when he defended the title against Bate in Cardiff? When he won the title against Dunn? The list goes on and on and on. Me personally, I don't think Walter should ever lose the NXT UK Championship. I don't care what anyone says.
At least to someone who doesn't deserve it, right?
Right.
Who hasn't earned the build up to fight Walter and beat him.
Yes, the only one person that I want to see dethrone Walter is Ilya Dragunov. Just him. Besides that, it should be no one else. Because Walter has held the title for 2 years. And also, this dude is still undefeated. Still. That's another thing that everyone forgets. He's still undefeated. That's why everyone keeps forgetting. I'm like, oh shit. This dude's been here for 2 years now, and he still hasn't been beaten.
Right.
I'm like,
I know he's been pinned at some point, but I don't think he lost it of an actual match, if that makes sense.
No, he hasn't. I watched all Walter matches ever since he came into WWE. He's not lost one match, not one. Like,
so there you go. He's a special kind of performer. He's great at everything he does.
He's a fantastic performer. He's a great champion. He brings out the best in his opponents. He brings out the prestige of the UK Championship and everything else. This is what makes him a fantastic champion. And now, since Imperium is since Imperium is now in NXT and Undisputed Era is done, can you imagine Imperium running rampant in NXT? Let alone if Walter wins the NXT Championship while holding the UK Championship.
Do you think that's going to happen though?
It could happen because, son, like.
But you're not. But you, in order for that to happen, they kind of have to take the title off of Karrion Kross and onto somebody else.
Oh, I'm gonna get to him when we get to night 2.
Okay.
But
hold that thought, man. We're right around the corner with that.
Yeah. But what Walter, I'm like, yo, this is why I love Walter. I love him. I love this dude as champion. He's dominant. He knows what he's doing. He's a great wrestler. He's more like, we need more of those type of wrestlers here.
I agree with you there.
And like, he just has it. He has it. And like, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
It's like, this dude is unbeatable. It's like, who do you think, and either an NXT mainstay or even an NXT UK, who do you think could seriously beat this man?
I can't give you a name. I don't think there's anybody right now that has the momentum to throw in Walter.
Exactly. It came close on multiple occasions. Very, very close. But he
ultimately retained. Yep. That's it.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see who eventually dethrones Walter for that UK title and makes him defeated. It'll be very interesting to see what they do there.
Yep.
Up next, we had MSK against Grizzled Young Veterans against Legado del Fantasma for the vacant NXT Tag Team Championships. The titles were made vacant on account of Danny Burch suffering a nasty separated shoulder, and he and Oni Lorcan are no longer the champions. They had to vacate it. MSK were coming off winning the Dusty Tag Team Classic 2 months ago, and they capped off their momentum with a big win here, where they beat Grizzled Young Veterans and Legado del Fantasma to win the NXT Tag Team titles after another great match. I was surprised by the outcome. I thought for sure it was going to Gibson and Drake, as I think it would have made a good amount more sense to see the heels win here, and MSK can chase them for the gold and eventually capture them from the heels. But I'm not mad at this decision at all, honestly.
I'm not mad at this decision at all. I was surprised that they won because I really wanted the Grizzly Young Veterans to win. I really did. But this reminds me of something. During the match, it reminded me back to NXT Takeover Toronto 2016, DIY against the Revival, 2 out of 3 falls. Remember the moment when the Revival had their hands like this?
Before eventually tapping out? Yeah.
Before eventually tapping out? It's like, yo, they brought it back. But I'm not going to lie. If they do it right, because I see Grizzly Young Veterans and MSK being that next big time tag team rivalry like we had with the Revival and DIY. I see it. Because these guys mesh so well. Legado del Fantasma.
They can be there too, honestly. Because
they're way up there. Like Legado del Fantasma, that faction down there, excellent faction. Raul Mendoza, Joaquin Wilde, these two meshed so well together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And with Santos Escobar in their corner, they're elevated. And to think, we're in 2021. To think, 4 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, Raul Mendoza was a jobber to all like the new talent was coming in, and now this dude is at a takeover. I believe this was his first takeover. I believe it.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think this was his first take. This was his first takeover.
Yeah.
And this dude, along with Joaquin Wilde, delivered.
Mendoza is one of those names, man, where I've been singing his praises for so long. When he was a perennial jobber, giving out good performances on NXT TV episodes but eventually succumbing to defeats by superstars that NXT is actually trying to push.
Yep.
And for so long now, and I've been a big advocate for this guy, and I'm like, okay, if you do something with him, he'll probably stand out and give you something to push in him, because this guy is really talented inside the ropes. So I'm happy to see that he's finally getting his chance to shine alongside Joaquin Wilde and Santos Escobar in this faction of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, great to see that he's doing his thing and that he is actually getting something to work with besides just coming out looking good but ultimately losing. But yeah, MSK winning, happy for them. Not mad at the decision at all.
Good but I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I don't see MSK holding the tag titles for very long. I'm sorry, I don't.
That's cool.
I give him until Takeover 35 in June. I'll give him till then.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to see on that. And the main event of night one of Takeover Stand and Deliver: Raquel Gonzalez, Io Shirai, NXT Women's Championship on the line. This was touted early on in the week as the main event for the night one of this Takeover show, and it was a good call, considering what the outcome was and how the match played itself out. Made sense for the main event. Raquel Gonzalez, I gotta point this out. I gotta talk about her. Is someone that WWE clearly has had big plans for since her introduction to NXT last year. And while she did fumble up her big debut when she ambushed Tegan Nox in that street fight she had with Dakota Kai last year, and failed to put her through the table the way she did, I could sit here and say that she is definitely one of the more improved performers in WWE right now. Honestly, I would go so far as to say in North American wrestling. A year ago, she was relatively green and not as confident in her abilities in the ring and on the mic. Now she has really come into her own and has improved in every way to make her a more complete performer for NXT as a talent that they legitimately built themselves. Mm-hmm. And how often do you see stories like that nowadays? It's very few and far between.
True, but I won't say that from what you just said about improved wrestler in the North America. I'm like, okay, slow your roll, but that's another discussion for another time. But
I didn't say she is the most improved, although you could make a case for that. I really meant she is one of the more improved performers in pro wrestling, in North American wrestling today.
Here's the thing. It was about that time that Io lost the belt. It really was. Because Io had a fantastic championship reign. She's literally beaten every single woman on the roster. Candice, Dakota, Toni Storm, Mercedes. Mm-hmm. What's her name that's injured right now? Tegan Nox. She's beaten everybody there is to beat in that women's division. Right. She's beaten everyone. Now Raquel. So it's like, what was the end game? That's what made us think. What was the end game for her? Right. And also another thing, it wasn't Raquel challenging Io. Io challenged Raquel. For the women's championship. Usually it's the other way around, but the fact that a champion is challenging a challenger, hey, I want you for my women's championship at TakeOver. Io's always been portrayed as a fighting champion, which I like. It's not too often you see baby faces like that booked like that anymore. Right. Now, The match was great. It ran for 12 minutes. Understood because obviously they were on TV. I also found out that the match was shortened due to one of the matches from night one being longer than it normally was. Most likely it was the gauntlet match, but I'm not surprised by that. But at the end of the day, it was a great match. Raquel won the belt, but here it is now. Raquel is now women's champion. She came to the match as a heel. Now, I'm saying this right now. When it hits Tuesday, because they announced this morning, this Tuesday, Raquel will say something on Tuesday on NXT. 100% Raquel is going to be a face. 100%. Because, like, for Raquel, when you saw the emotion when she won the NXT Women's Championship from Io Shirai, and when she got interviewed backstage, and when she hugged her parents, and when you saw her at the audience for night 2, I'm like, okay, she's gonna be a face.
Right. They made it a point to really document all that. Her hugging her parents after a big title win, making it seem like it's an emotional deal. I do see where you're coming from in terms of maybe they're pushing her towards more of a face direction, or at least a tweener, something like that.
No, honestly, I see her going into a face. I don't see her
something. Yeah, at least somebody to root for.
Somebody to root for. But the thing is this. Here's the thing. To me, yes, Raquel won, but the money match for her specifically, it's going to be Raquel Gonzalez against Dakota Kai. That's the money match for Raquel specifically, because the story is there. It's right there.
Of course, yeah.
Like, you've been running with Dakota for now a year and some change, and Dakota's gonna say, "So you've been riding my coattails, but how the hell did you get an NXT Championship match and you won the belt, and I'm just stuck here in the sidelines?" They're most definitely gonna run that storyline with these two individuals. But my main concern is this: can Raquel, still being a young champion, can Raquel bring up the intensity, in-ring work, mic work, and everything as all the champions that came before her? You see what I'm saying? Because you're now on the top of the NXT Women's Division. You're like right there. Now it's up to you as the champion to level yourself and be better as yourself in the mic, in the ring, everything. Everything has to be on point. If not, they made a huge mistake of making Raquel the women's champion. Even though that both Triple H and Shawn Michaels are very high on her, just because you're high on a person doesn't mean they're going to succeed as a champion.
But there is a good There's no guarantee on that, but that does give a pretty good indication of what Triple H and Shawn Michaels think about her and NXT as the higher ups as a whole over there. They see big things in her. Like I said earlier, with how they introduced her and how she just went on this reign of terror for herself, being this dominant figure in the women's division, towering over everybody, showing them what she's got. And she is, like I said, one of the more improved performers that we've seen in WWE over the past few years. And so I don't think it's a case of, having like her disappointing eventually, because I know she's going to bring her A game to it, because this was a big deal for her, the title win. I don't think she's going to fumble it up like that unless certain circumstances get in the way. And I hope that's not the case. So we'll have to wait and see on how Raquel Gonzalez carries herself as the champion and how she presents her title reign moving forward.
Yep.
But that's what I like. It's kind of this period of uncertainty with how she'll fare as champion and towering over the entire women's division. which is what I like. But yeah, very happy for her winning. It was time for Shirai to drop it eventually at this point. She had nothing left to do as the champion, nothing left to prove. Now let's just hope that Vince McMahon isn't so quick to call her up to die on Raw or SmackDown.
Don't you mean how quickly it's going to be when Io gets caught up and she's going to die on the main roster? Oh yes, because the minute she gets to the main roster, if she gets called up, she'll die. Because here's what Triple H said after when Takeover was done. I'm just gonna paraphrase. He said, in terms of Io losing the championship, if Io wants to take a break, she could take a break. If she wants to move somewhere else, she can move somewhere else. Because Io, at this point right now, has earned the right to do whatever the fuck she wants. Mm-hmm. And he's right. He's right. Do I want Io to succeed? Yes. But do I want her to get buried? No. Because, like, all the work that you did down there and you move up, it's like, yo, why? This is, like, why would you do this? This is the main reason why, to me now, at this point, superstar, Triple H should not go to the superstar and say, like, oh, starting next week, you're going to be on Monday Night Raw. Starting next week, you're going to go to Friday Night SmackDown. No. It should be
Vince McMahon has a say in it.
Fuck Vince. I would say,
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment, but doesn't change the fact that it still happened. Vince has done that before.
Yes, it should be the superstar's choice to either go up to the main roster or stay in NXT. It should be at that point right now, because here's a percentage of people being moved up to the main roster from NXT. 85% of people who gets called up from NXT to the main roster, they die.
Flounder.
15% succeed. 15%. In the words of JD, Triple H creates, Vince kills. Period.
Yep.
Like it really is still to this day, it pisses me off when that happens.
Vince really hasn't proven otherwise on that statement.
It's like, yo, why do you think the only person that has the most sense of not going to the main roster is Tommaso? Because he knows, hands down, if I go to the main roster, I'm done for. Because he knows. Why do you think Johnny is still there? Johnny and Tommaso are literally right now the two longest tenured people in NXT when they came in late 2015 into early 2016, and we're now in 2021. Like, how long is that? 6 years. Almost 6 years.
They're NXT for life, man. Both of them are NXT lifers over there, which is a great thing for them.
Which is a great thing. Honestly, NXT has been to a point in which you do not need to go to the main roster to succeed. You really, really don't. You don't need to.
Yeah, it's not seen as a developmental brand per se anymore. It feels like more of a third brand, and it has been for the past few years now. You're at a point where you can do your best, you could succeed on your own on NXT and stay in that brand for as long as you want, and you'd still do fine.
And I'm saying this right now to all the people that still say NXT is developmental, still to this day. If you think that NXT is developmental still to this day, you guys are a bunch of dumbasses than you normally are. Seriously. Wow. I don't give a fuck. NXT is not developmental. I don't care who you are. NXT is not developmental. They're better than Raw right now. And that's saying something.
Rich laying the smackdown on those listening who feel that sentiment, what he said. NXT is still developmental.
If y'all motherfuckers think that NXT is still developmental to this day, you need to have several seats. Because last time I checked, how many times did NXT Takeover during WrestleMania weekend succeeded? NXT Takeover 2016 in Dallas was better than 32.
All right, Rich. We're going a little overboard now. We got it. We got the sentiment. All of us did. Believe me.
I rest my case.
Right. Okay. And that was night 1 of Takeover Stand and Deliver. I would probably go 8 out of 10 with the event. Only night 1, that is. Highlights for me were Walter and Ciampa's match and performances from them. How good Bronson Reed looked in the Gauntlet Eliminator match. MSK winning the tag team titles, and Raquel Gonzalez coming full circle to win the women's championship based off her performance there. So a lot to like about night 1.
I would say honestly, I would say 8.5. I will say 8.5. I will give it an 8. I will give night 1 an 8.5.
That's cool.
It could have been a 9 if honestly one match wasn't there, which will be Pete Dunne and Kushida. Because honestly, Kushida and Pete Dunne, they did not need to be there. They really didn't. If it was just those four, Walter and Ciampa, the triple threat tag title match, the women's title match, and the gauntlet match, I would have been okay with that.
Okay. Yeah. Now on to night 2. Last night's show. On the pre-show, they threw out Breezango against Killian Dane and Drake Maverick in a number 1 contenders match to MSK in the tag titles. Clearly, it was a way to get a quick title match to take place on the inaugural episode of NXT on Tuesday night as a way to draw attention to that with having a title match there. And it'll be one and done, so no reason to really care about this. Dane and Maverick win here. My mistake there. And they'll face MSK at some point, probably at that episode on Tuesday. Nothing much to go over there. Jordan Devlin. Show started off with Jordan Devlin against Santos Escobar in a ladder match for the undisputed Cruiserweight Championship belts. Devlin never lost the title as the story goes. He's been champion going back to last year in January, I believe, at the Worlds Collide show, but hasn't been able to perform here in the US since the pandemic hit, as air travel wasn't possible initially. So they held a tournament to crown an interim champion for the time being, with Santos Escobar winning that and winning the belt, and has held it up to this point and has done a stellar job as the champion. Devlin has since come back as of late and claims he is the true Cruiserweight title holder, and Santos was just there as an understudy before his eventual return, and that was the story heading into this match. Now, once the bell rang, they both gave us a great old school style type of ladder match that we don't see too often nowadays in wrestling, while of course giving us a few spots here and there we haven't quite seen before in ladder matches over the years, like the moonsault from Devlin from the very top of the ladder onto Escobar, who wasn't far away at all from the ladder. That was a hard feat to accomplish on Devlin's part, with how close Santos was to the ladder laid out. So Devlin hit it, good spot there. Devlin hits a falling DDT after falling off the ladder onto Santos. Escobar hits the suicide dive to Devlin, and they both felt the impact onto a ladder. We see Devlin climbing up to retrieve the titles, but Legado del Fantasma ran down to aggressively shove the ladder to send Devlin flying outside the ring. I was afraid for his life when I saw that. That was some scary stuff right there. But thankfully he was okay. Santos tells them to leave and that he's got this match, to which they did. Not long after, Devlin hit a beautiful Spanish fly to Escobar as they were both near the top of the ladder inside the ring. In the end, Santos pushes Devlin off the ladder as they were fighting and reaching for the belts up there, and right into a ladder perched in the corner, completely snapped upon impact, and Jordan sold it like he was dead for the whole time. Escobar reaches for the belts and pulls them both down to become the one and only undisputed Cruiserweight champion, no questions asked. Great ladder match that had its innovative spots, like I said, and a strong way to open night 2 of TakeOver. I assumed that maybe Devlin would be winning instead heading into it as a way for them to get Santos out of the Cruiserweight division and onto better things for him. But they stayed put with him as the ace of the Cruiserweight division.
I like the match, but here's my issue. My issue with the match was the crowd. Now, usually, ladder matches are very exciting. But for this particular one, I'm not going to lie. Great match, but atmosphere-wise, it was extremely dead. Extremely. Because, it was so dead to the point I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, yo, why is everyone so dead? It's a ladder match. Usually ladder matches, everyone's excited, everyone's the OMG moments, and there was a couple in this match. Along with that, mind you, we had another weird part about this match is a match against 2 heels. That's another thing. It was a match against 2 heels.
Right. I mean, they kind of went the route of portraying one of them as the face by default in Jordan Devlin. Because Santos had the help and the backup. So but the thing is, they kind of had to do that.
True, but at the same time, you can't even portray Jordan Devlin as a face because of the way he is. Period.
His
Like,
arrogant self, his cocky, arrogant self.
yeah. So it's like a match between two heels for a title. It's like, who do I cheer for?
Hmm.
Who do
Right.
I want to win? Me personally, I didn't care who won. I didn't care who won because all I knew was that I'm going to see a fantastic match between these two individuals. Santos Escobar won. I'm not mad at that. My main question is, where does Jordan Devlin goes from here? What do they do with him next? But also another thing, the other part of me wanted Jordan to win because let's be real, Awa, between you and me, Santos Escobar honestly should move away from the cruiserweight division.
Right. That's what I was getting at earlier.
He seriously needs to go after, like, let's say, the North American title or like hell, the NXT title, whatever. This guy is too good right now to be put in the cruiserweights completely. You got Legado, you got Mendoza and Wild in your back pocket going after the tag team titles. I'm like, son, you're great in the ring. You know how to talk. You carried the cruiserweight division for the entire pandemic period. Right. And you're still with the cruiserweights. I'm like, son, you got to bounce from the cruiserweights and go after like the North American title or go after a top name, even not for a title, and then go to the NXT title when you are ready. You need to move away from the cruiserweights. Mm-hmm. That's all I want for Escobar to do because I see big things in this dude's NXT future. Hands down. Hell, I don't mind him seeing NXT champion because Santos Escobar has it. He has it. I just want him to be excelled more.
Right. And I feel like that's good. That's going to come out. That's going to come pretty soon for him because like you said, man, and like I was saying earlier, he's way too talented to be pigeonholed in the cruiserweight division just dead on because he deserves so much more than that. But same for you could say the same.
We have a special guest.
A special guest? Who could it be? Who could it be? Shit.
The bromance will return this Saturday to a podcast near you. My man Kenny and yours truly, Ricardo, will make their return.
Oh, crap.
This Saturday. Just want to make y'all know. Get ready. Because the show doesn't start till the bromance arrives. Nice to see y'all again. See y'all this Saturday.
Wow. There was your cameo from from one half of the bromance, Ricardo. Oh my God. I never thought we would see him at a takeover review.
Right?
Right? Yeah. That's kind of our thing. But hey, you guys got a little extra treat or a little extra, something to throw up on. But but yeah, either or, you got something a little extra. So with Ricardo. So yeah, he'll be on episode 61 this upcoming weekend. God help us all. Anyways, moving on here, man. We had The Way, Candice LeRae, and Indy Hartwell against Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart for the NXT Women's Tag Team titles.
I'm gonna cut you off right now because I have a lot to say about this match.
You have a lot to say? I have very little to say, honestly.
No, actually, very little, but to a lot. But I'm just gonna let me review this match. Just this one match.
All yours, man.
The NXT Women's Tag Team titles. Now, I understand NXT has the best women's division, period. And that's a fact. But here's my problem. The NXT Women's Tag Team titles, yes, you have Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon face off against The Way and Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, right? Abba? But in terms of...
Not here, man. Sorry, I had to step out for a second.
It's all good. But in terms of this, I'm not gonna lie. As a diehard women's wrestling fan, I did not give a fuck about this match one bit. I really
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah. I mean,
Because
not to cut you off again, man, but the way this went and the pacing we got here from the four ladies, it was very obviously a come down match off the ladder match we got right beforehand, as a way for people to take a breath and not give us anything crazy for this match.
and
But you
plus,
know, regardless of that, it was still pretty. I thought it was still pretty solid, the work here. It was just hard to pay attention at times.
it was solid. Yeah, it was solid. But the thing, India Hartwell looked so robotic. Really, she looked very robotic. Candice LeRae literally had to do all the work from her. Excuse me, from their side. I'm like, yo. But here's the issue now. You have the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, but with no teams. I'm not even counting Raquel and Dakota because sooner or later they're gonna face each other. I'm not even counting them.
Hmm.
You know what I would like to see? I would like to see. I understand Triple H is running the women's division. I get that. I trust him emphatically with the women's division. I need him to literally get teams together or whatever and help build up this tag team titles, because by the way it's looking right now, and I want to be wrong, by the way it's looking, we're gonna see the same teams fight over and over and over again.
Oh, that was my issue with them even having women's tag team title belts for NXT the whole time.
But this also goes to show you, do they really need a women's tag team, NXT women's tag team titles at NXT? And the answer is no. The answer is no. You know what I would have had? I would have had a secondary title for the women's division in NXT. Singularly.
That would have been the way to go.
If they had that, I'm like, you got it.
Right.
It could have been like shit. I'm trying to think of a name. The NXT women's IC title or something, or the women's. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But that's their job if they come up with something. But it looks like they're not going to. So
I'm saying, like, yo, guys, with all due respect, I love you guys as NXT. Like, I love that. But the NXT women's tag team titles is not needed at all, because you guys have so much singular talent that you can seriously use to the point in which, like, they could thrive. It's only a matter of time. Like, seriously, like, it's only a matter of time. They're gonna run their shit with the NXT Women's Tag Team titles. They are. It's just that it's gonna take a minute for us as the fans to care enough about the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, because if they don't do it right, it's gonna be just like the women's tag team titles in the main roster, and I do not want that to happen. And I also want to say this one thing. This goes back to night one. Remember what we said about all three teams?
Right. Yeah, the tag team title match.
Tag team title match. And I forgot to say this when we discussed night one. Now, as you know, Abba, AEW has the stronger tag team division. That's not even a question. How would you feel? Because Triple H would seriously do this. How would you feel if Triple H did a Mae Young Classic style tournament, but for tag teams?
That would be a great idea in principle, but I feel like with how much we see the state of the AEW tag team division and NXT, because they're coming up again with their tag team division, it's looking pretty good right now. I don't think it's needed as much as it was, say, before AEW came around. You know what I mean? Because we're seeing a great display and showcase of what the tag teams they have to offer and how talented they are over on Dynamite every Wednesday night and on their pay-per-views. And we're getting that as well, more slowly but surely, with NXT itself. They're offering something there. There's something there with their tag team division. So I feel that it wouldn't be as much needed as it was 3-4 years ago for an NXT Mae Young's classic style
tournament,
tag team tournament for them.
But all I'm saying is, like, if like how Triple H puts so much focus on the women's division and the NXT Championship division stuff like that. I need you to bring that attention to the tag teams, because there was a point in which tag team wrestling in NXT was on par with everything. I need that to come back. And hopefully once NXT moves to Tuesdays, that attention to the tag team division will be right up there. Hopefully. But let's move on.
Right. Yeah, but nothing to write home about with this match. It was a come down match, just plain and simple. But still, we got a solid tag match. Bronson Reed against Johnny Gargano was up next for the NXT North American Championship. Reed, of course, got this opportunity after winning the Gauntlet Eliminator match against 5 other men to face Gargano for the title on this night. Apparently, Johnny Takeover's win-loss record at Takeover shows is at, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, but 4-15 before this match.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. I was not expecting that Takeover record. I was like, Jesus.
I thought it would be a lot. I thought it would be a little bit closer. Not saying that I know Gargano's lost more than he's won at takeovers, but that much, 4-15, that's insane. Insane.
Yeah, I'm like,
I didn't even know that was legitimate until I looked it up. Like, I thought you guys just messed around with me when you said that.
I didn't know. I honestly didn't know that either, because I was not expecting that record. I was like, 4-15. I'm like, are you sure? And I literally had to look back at every single takeover he's been in. I'm like, oh shit, it's not wrong.
Yeah, right.
But I will say
at least he got the win. At least he got the win here. So it's
but
bringing
now
it up to
it's 5 and 15. But I will say this. In terms of night 2, this was match of the night. For night 2. This was Bronson Reed's best match to date. This was his coming out party to all the fans, because this dude delivered. He did a cartwheel like Bam Bam Bigelow. They did references to Bam Bam Bigelow. He did references to Yokozuna in night 1. He did a suicide dive. He did a Death Valley driver. This dude did a fucking moonsault from the top rope. From that he looked into Vader. Vader did the same thing. Bronson Reed is 330 pounds. And he did a moonsault from the top rope. While Vader, right? Let me tell you something about Vader. Vader is one of the most legendary, biggest men in the wrestling industry. When he did the Vader bomb, right, back in his day, this dude was 450 pounds, and he did a moonsault from the top rope. Same thing goes for Bam Bam Bigelow, over 300 pounds, moonsault from the top rope.
Mm-hmm. Those are some agile big men.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yo, the fact that Bronson Reed is looking into big guys like Yokozuna, Vader, and Bam Bam Bigelow to improve his in-ring style goes to show that currently, right now, he is the best big man that they ever had. Otis, take note.
Right. But Yokozuna, let's be honest, Yokozuna, as great as he wasn't pulling off moonsaults in his heyday.
Well, obviously, that's a given.
But imagine the sight of that though. Yokozuna doing a moonsault to somebody. Jeez, I would not want to be on the receiving end of that. And that's a sight to behold.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying, like, yo, this dude, like, Bronson has it. The only thing he needs to work on is his mic skills, but that can come as his time progresses. So yeah, this dude is still young. This dude can still kill it in the ring. This was his great match to date in his entire career. This loss does not hurt him. I will not say that. I will not say that this loss hurt him, because it didn't. He gave the performance of a lifetime against an NXT staple in Johnny Gargano. And because of what he did, he had a fantastic match. Now the question is, what is Bronson Reed goes from here? I see him winning. I definitely 100%. I see him winning a title this year. Period. I see him winning a title this year.
Yeah, that's likely to happen. I mean, he never looked good. He never looked this good before. And being
Ever.
against someone like Mr. Takeover in Gargano, who's probably the most consistently great performer in NXT history. So if you don't have a good match against Gargano at a Takeover event, I'm going to look at this opponent. I'm not looking at Johnny. I'm sorry.
Wait. So wait. Time out. So you're not looking at Johnny.
I am looking at Johnny. I'm not looking at Johnny. I'm going to be looking at the performer as
okay.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Because Johnny Gargano is consistently amazing at a Takeover show.
Oh, of course.
He's the best performer they've ever had in the history of Takeover events.
Mm-hmm.
So if you mess up, like, I'm looking at the performer. That's what I'm trying to say.
Got you.
I'm looking at his opponent for that, as for fault.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyways, moving on with the card, we had Finn Balor against Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. Balor's been NXT champion going back to September in the wake of Karrion Kross having to relinquish that same title due to sustaining an injury upon winning the gold from Keith Lee back in August. And it all came full circle as Kross returned a few months back and wants his title again. And he's going to have to go through Balor to get it. Now, the way they laid this match out, it did seem like Finn Balor was the heel, as he was in control for the first half of the match, keeping Kross grounded and targeting the injured shoulder that kept Kross out throughout the duration of the match. Balor also laughing off Karrion's offense in the beginning, and Kross making the comeback as the match progressed. It did seem like a different dynamic. Kross eventually did put Balor away after a few vicious blows to the back of Balor's head, knocked him right out for the pin and to reclaim the NXT Championship, ending Finn Balor's reign of 7 months, I believe it is. Also, another good match on the show, though I wouldn't call it great, as the action was a little slow for my liking, and I like storytelling in my wrestling, and this match had that, but the execution of it and what we didn't, and what we got out of it didn't go as great as they intended, I'm sure. But Kross won, so let's see what they have in store for a proper title reign for him. And also, I was surprised at first to not see this main event, the show, when it was up next. But after what we saw and how both this and the unsanctioned match played out, it was definitely for the better. That's what I got to say on that.
Between the two nights, this match had the best psychology and storytelling, because the storytelling was obviously Kross's injury. Balor played as the heel in this match, just like you said. He played it perfectly. He was smiling a couple of times. He was going after the injury a couple of times. And then when it came closer to the end, my girl Scarlett talked some sense into Kross and became back to this badass monster that he was when he first came into the picture.
Speaking of Scarlett, man, during Karrion's entrance, all those facial expressions she was making while she was in the ring, geez Louise. That's Scarlett, the stuff I was telling you guys this last night. That's the stuff nightmares are made out of.
Scarlett is bae. But in terms, I said this to you yesterday when we watched Takeover together. I said there's gonna come a point in which they're gonna put Scarlett on her own. Even though that they're pushing Kross, Scarlett can go too. If no one who's watching this right now, if no one knows who Scarlett Bordeaux is, do your homework, watch back some matches in the indies. She can go. She's already a fantastic talker already.
Great presence to her.
She has presence. And it's only a matter of time before she gets put into the spotlight. Now, for Kross, he won the NXT Championship, the title that he never lost. But who right now can you say should face Kross first? It's definitely not Kyle O'Reilly. Let's get that out the way.
Why not? Definitely.
Wait, what?
Why not? Definitely. Why not Kyle O'Reilly?
Because for Kyle O'Reilly, after what we saw on the Unsanctioned Match, right? It's not Kyle O'Reilly because Kyle O'Reilly.
They don't want to diminish that momentum. Maybe
it's not only
straight out the gate.
It's not only momentum. It's not only that. It's the fact that you can't rush him going back into the NXT Championship picture and facing Kross when we all know Kross will kill him.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So it's like yeah, you can do a rematch with Balor here and there or whatever for the next takeover, but I'm not waiting like 2 months for that to happen, and they're most likely going to do it for NXT TV and stuff like that. Like, it's not going to be Adam Cole because Adam Cole will also die. I only see one person and only one
Getting called up?
to face Cross,
No.
and it's Ciampa.
After Ciampa lost?
Yes, and plus not only that, he still said to this day, I want Goldie back. Still to this day.
Right.
So, and plus, this is how it works, right? Abba, June 7th last year, Cross debuted against Cross. Cross debuted against Ciampa.
Cross debuted against himself. Right. I heard that.
And he beat the living shit out of him.
Yeah.
So now, fast forward to today. TakeOver 35 is in June. The story's right there. Last year, you beat me on your debut match. Beat me like I was your bitch. Fast forward to next year. You have the title that I always wanted ever since I came back from my injury. Now, it's time for you to face me for the NXT title against me. Like, the story is right there.
Right. I didn't think into it all that much coming out of this event. What they got planned for Cross as NXT champion, and who his first challenger will be.
And
your idea about yeah, that's why we have the professor, Richard.
You have the professor.
Yeah.
And another thing.
Yeah. What's up?
Sorry to cut you off, but another thing. I do not see Cross holding the NXT title for very long. I'm sorry, I don't.
I see what you mean. I don't even have to ask. I already know what you mean because I could see. Because honestly, there was a good chance that Cross was not even going to win this match against Balor. There was a lot of people predicted Balor would win and go on, and Cross would go on to debut on the main roster after Mania weekend. That was always the likelihood. But maybe that, I don't know. Maybe they'll do something. Maybe they'll do something similar with Balor. Maybe they decide, okay, let's take the title off him. He did his part in NXT. He's put over a good amount of people. Let's bring him back up to the main roster.
Oh no! If he does that, I'm sorry. I will be fucking pissed. Balor needs to stay.
No, dude. No, I'm not even factoring in how we feel about it. That doesn't even matter to honestly in the grand scheme of things because it only matters what Vince is thinking.
I don't give a fuck what Vince is thinking. Why the hell would you bring back a person in Balor to the main roster and shit when you did not even give a fuck about him to begin with? When you don't even know how to book him to begin with. You demolished the Demon character straight down the toilet. You didn't bring Balor. You did not bring Balor to his full potential. Ever since that Balor's been back on NXT, he has thrived. Every single time. He has thrived. Giving us, the fans, the best matches of his entire career. Better than his first run in NXT.
All right. I don't mean to cut you off again, man, but we kind of need to wrap this whole thing up because I feel like we are going a little overtime on this whole thing. But yeah, Cross wins the NXT title from Balor. We'll see what happens with Cross's title reign, how long it lasts, and who his first challenger will be in the aftermath, heading into TakeOver 35 in June. Which leads us to the main event of Night 2, and to cap off this review of TakeOver Stand and Deliver, courtesy of us, Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly in an unsanctioned match. The Night Undisputed Era, I should say, imploded and are going against each other. Sorry about that. Got to cut off there. I got a phone call real quick. Anyways, like I was saying, it was the night that Undisputed Era imploded and are going against each other, which we knew would eventually happen as all great factions throughout history turn on one another at some point, and it's no different here. Adam Cole had to go into business for himself, as the story goes, as O'Reilly was being buddies with Finn Balor following his title losses to him, and Cole grew frustrated in the background. A lot of history between these two going back to their time as a tag team on the independent scene, their time at Ring of Honor, and all the way to this very point in history that's in time in their WWE tenures. It all came to a head with last night's Unsanctioned match. They both came out with new entrance themes, and O'Reilly, I did understand why, because he's his own person now. He's no longer in a faction, and so he needed a new entrance theme. Doesn't change the fact, though, that the theme itself was pretty damn generic and nothing special. Absolutely nothing special. It was a garbage theme.
I'm not gonna get into the theme songs. Let's just move on because I was very pissed.
Right. Yeah. And Adam Cole's new theme itself wasn't better. Another generic rock theme that is devoid of any identity that Cole's old entrance theme had. And it was one of my favorite themes in wrestling in the last few years, and it's now gone. So rest in peace to the Undisputed Era entrance theme.
Whoever made the new songs needs to be fired. But let's go.
Yeah, maybe a little harsh there, but you may be onto something.
They need to be fired.
Right.
Bring back some rock music songs and put them in for the superstars. That's what you need to do. But keep going, Abba.
Right. Now on with the match. The match began. We got over 40 minutes of action here, which based off everything I've seen in this match, it could have easily been 10 minutes could have easily been shaven off the whole thing, maybe even 15 minutes. Match was pretty good when things did pick up in spots, but there were too many dead spots in between all of the big spots to justify how long this match was and how long it went for. I get they were trying to tell a story with all the brutality and everything they were going at it with the story, but it didn't matter if it doesn't do all that much to enhance the match itself. It just didn't. There were also way too many kickouts near the end when it probably should have ended in particular spots. O'Reilly kicking out from the brainbuster spots right to the steel steps that Cole gave him, it should have ended right there, but it didn't end there. And it finally ended when O'Reilly hit a knee from the top rope with a chain wrapped around his own knee right onto Adam Cole's back, and Cole's head was perched on top of a folded chair. And thankfully, that's where it ended, because honestly, if someone kicked out of that, I would have legit been upset. I would have been pissed off. Kyle O'Reilly won. He wins this unsanctioned match over Adam Cole, and that was the end of TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Listen, when the match was good, the match was good. That being said, it just dragged too much for me to call it an amazing match or anything, or a classic or anything.
That match went way too long.
Like it overstayed its welcome by a good amount, a really good amount. And it suffered as a result. Night 2 got dragged down significantly on its overall quality of the show because of how this match went. And that was way too long.
That match went way too long. It really did, because like great storytelling. The match was great. Right through the rampway, the chain spot, the brainbusters to the announce table, the monitor getting smacked over Riley's head. Like the match was great, but it dragged on for so long. I'm like, guys, like is it done yet? Like, not saying it was a fantastic match. It was, but it was just too long. That's literally all I can say about this match. Great match, great storytelling, great build, whatever. It's just that it was too long. 40 minutes did not need it to be that long for one unsanctioned match. It could have been like 20 to 25 minutes, or hell, 30 minutes, but 40, that's a bit of a stretch. Like, now I don't know what they're going to do now with Cole. For Cole, it's like, okay, what he has done now in NXT. He's won the NXT Championship. He's won the NXT North American Championship, the tag team titles, the Dusty Cup. There's nothing for Adam Cole left to do at all. There really isn't. Now, I do see him being called up to the main roster. Hopefully, he doesn't go, but at the same time, there's nothing else for him to do in NXT. He's like beating everyone that's been down there, from Gargano to Ciampa. He beat O'Reilly. Like, he's beaten everybody. There's nothing else for him to do down there. And now, hopefully, in my opinion, he stays in NXT. But if he gets called up to the main roster, he gets called up only for him to die. Now, since Abba is having technical difficulties and stuff, but we'll see what happens. For NXT as a whole, out of 10, I'm giving Takeover an 8. Was this one of the best NXT takeovers of all time? Not really, but the match of the night from both nights, I will have to give it to Walter and Ciampa. Hands down, Walter and Ciampa. I'm not even saying the unsanctioned match. I'm saying Walter and Ciampa because that match really grabbed everyone's attention. It was physical, it was dominant, it was controlled, it was fluid, it was a great match. Now, hopefully, at the next takeover, which is Takeover 35 in June, they do whatever they can there. Hopefully, thank God, hopefully it's not 2 nights. It could just be just 1. And last but not least, NXT is moving to Tuesdays starting April 13th at 8 o'clock. NXT has its own night, which gives everyone breathing room for next week, how every single night there's a day of wrestling, but NXT is going to be the one to watch on Tuesday. So we got to wait and see on what's going to go down. But until then, that's going to do it for the NXT Takeover Stand and Deliver review. We hope you guys like the review that we have. Tune in this weekend for WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2, as well as episode 61 of the Wrestling Hypothesis. For the ABA, I'm the Professor Richard here, and we'll see you guys again soon. Take care, guys.